Well met, fellow witches, wizards, and everyone in between. I'm NB Witch, and welcome back to Lake of Voices. When we last left off, we had just fended off some prowlers, and I nearly died. But from here on, I think it's only going to get that much worse. But we shall see, shall we? After some time, I noticed Margaret isn't keeping up with the guide as much as she was before. I realize it's because the guide has increased his pace. Margaret begins to jog in an effort to keep up with him, and Bemele and I do the same. Despite this, the guide keeps getting further away. We go faster until suddenly we're full on sprinting across the slick wooden boards. Figures in the dark fog fly past us at a blur, and it occurs to me that branching paths in the bridge appear to be sinking. I try hard to swallow my rising panic. The guide shouts something, but it's drowned out by the frantic pounding of our footsteps. I'm trying to piece together what he said. Don't stop, turn. When he takes a masterfully sharp right down a different path using his own momentum, and the sleek wood slide into a new direction with no loss of speed. Margaret must have not worked out the warning either, as she's completely caught off guard by the guide's changing course. She runs straight ahead, past the turn, and continues down the path we've been following up till now. She clumsily begins to halt her momentum down the wrong bridge. Then I come upon the fork. Turn. I make a hard turn following the guide and leave Margaret at the rear. Bemele's footsteps stay loud as they were before. He's made the turn. He's close behind me as ever. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Margaret turn around to try to come back to us, only to have the bridge in front of her fall away. I slow down for a breath, feeling the impulse to turn back, but ignore it. There's no time. Margaret can make the jump, and then she'll rejoin us. I keep my eyes glued to the guide's back, ears from Margaret's footsteps approaching behind us, and then I hear it. A scream. I whip around, sliding to a stop. Margaret is sinking. The bridge she's on is sinking into the water. She's disappearing. She didn't jump.
What are you doing?
Margaret's head shoots up, her face drained of all color.
Jump!
She stumbles near the end of the bridge, staring at the placid water of the lake. Even from a distance, I can see her shaking. I can't say if it's from the bridge's descent or her own fear. She barely seems to remain standing. I swallow painfully. Margaret bends and tries to jump. She curves in a small arc, achieving more height than she should, and lands directly into the lake with a muted splash. Bemele starts beside me, and I grab his hand and pull. We start running again, leaving Margaret flailing in the water behind us. We don't need to watch this. We both know exactly what will happen to her now. Margaret's anguish cries pierce the night, then the screaming stops. My legs grow weak. This isn't right, but I push myself to keep going. I got an achievement for that, but I feel bad. Bemele curses between heavy breaths, calling those things every foul name in his large book. I try to focus on the pounding of my feet, but my brain won't cooperate. Instead, I imagine Margaret's terror as she's clawed to pieces by the Nixi. After everything, I didn't help her. We left her in the dark. As the night wears on, our strength rapidly fades. How much longer will this last? People have to rest sometime. Almost as if in response to my thought, the guard abruptly halts. I skid to a stop as well, sliding on the surface of the wood.
Why did we stop?
Bemele's voice is tired, but his guard is up. The guide doesn't answer, just stares at something slightly out of view. I step up to join him, following his gaze further down the path. There, curled in a little ball, illuminated by the lantern's light, cowers a person. His hands grip his head and he rocks from side to side, mumbling incoherently.
It's a man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Please. I'm sorry.
I'm struck with an array of questions. What is going on? Why would he wander out into these bridges on his own? Did he make it this far by himself? Were there others with him? And if that's somehow the case, I can't blame him for the state of shock he's in. The man stops mumbling. He glances above him, seemingly only just now having the strength to lift his head. His expression, the deep sadness, along with the clear markings of terror, are scrawled across his face. I stare at him in shock, not sure what to do.
Leave him.
I snap my eyes away from the man and instead to the guide's golden placable face.
No! We can't just leave him here. Without light, it's certain he'll die.
It's a trap.
He won't make it regardless.
It's a trap. The guide turns to look at us, his eyes seeming to glow from the closeness of his lantern. For the first time I feel uncomfortable in his presence.
Whoever shelters him will only risk dragging themselves down with him. Leave him in.
I glance at my partner. Emily is outraged. Trying to think of some kind of compromise when the guide speaks again, his voice cutting.
Land calls, and whoever is shielding him will have to remain at a distance from the rest of the crew. Far enough that you can't see me. Just my light. That's how you travel across the bridges. I didn't agree to leave these men, and I won't. If you ask me to, I will leave you all behind.
Adrenaline surges through my veins and I tense up. It's a painful reminder that the guide isn't here to save our lives, but merely show us the way. We're on our own. Emil and I frantically share more looks between each other, trying to communicate without words. Neither of us have a desire to speak and be the first to make a choice. But I think we'll have to leave him behind. The man is standing now, still hunched with arms wrapped around himself as if expecting a blow. He stares at the ground rather than at us. Because of this, I'm having trouble reading his face. What exactly happened to him?
Are you well, stranger? Do you know where you are and why you're here?
He glances up, not at me, but towards me, his eyes resting somewhere near my collarbone.
I'm fine. You all can go on your way. Forget you even saw me here.
That's absurd. You have no way to defend yourself. We can't leave you.
I'm afraid we're going to have to.
Yes, I'm sure in your eyes I might not seem like much, but that's not exactly a fair shake. Maybe in a perfect world, every man would be as large as you. But that's not how things always go. Doesn't mean I'm defenseless.
The man's response is meandering. The words themselves seem to be in good jest, but he's still barely looking at us, fidgeting with his hands. Emily frowns, unimpressed.
It was a joke.
He smiles hesitantly, making eye contact with each of us for the first time.
What part of it was supposed to be the joke? Do you even realize what is happening in this moment?
Never mind. Forget that too. Point is, I'm alright.
You have found yourself out alone and unlit on Sinlos.
Exactly. Something must be wrong with you.
Oh no. Sounds like you've been talking with my father.
He lets out a wiggly laugh coupled with an eyebrow raise, voice trembling. No one really knows what to make of this. The man gives a small wave and begins down the path we came. Emily huffs, tossing his hands into the air.
That's not even the right way.
It is for me.
Oh? You must have come quite a ways if it was the other shore you started on.
The man's smile grows.
Good. That's not so bad.
There's no response to this remark, unsure of what can be said.
I still think he should come with us. A person needs a light, and the guide himself said he won't be able to manage on his own. Sticking with us is his best option.
I look over at the man's body, noting the scrawniness of his limbs. Scrawny, but not necessarily lacking in muscle. The bravado he was showing as he tried to leave us has faded yet again. Now he's standing quietly, looking at us as if watching a play. Interest, but no true connection to the events.
It's easy for you to say such things, but whose light are you offering? It's not mine, and you are putting her in even more danger with your own presence already.
Emili's hands turn into fists. He looks away, but doesn't say anything. For a moment, no one does. I feel a cold sweat on my brow as what I feared comes to pass. He's stopping us from protecting another. Why must he get involved now? Why can he not leave us to make our own decisions?
You... Don't worry about me. I'll be on my way now.
The man's voice is full of something I cannot place, and he starts to shuffle back down the way we came, arms still clenched around himself. I know the guide wants us to act as if there's no option. However, I could stay back with him. It'll put Millie and myself at a significantly more risk, but at least this man was tended to. I don't want to take him with us! I know that's what you're pushing for, but I don't want to. It's clear he wants to go on his own. Just let him go on his own. Nope, do nothing. Can't risk it. Not today, Satan. I don't want to die. But Millie stares at the man as he leaves. We both watch him drag his little frame down the bridge, quickly fading from sight. We had to let him go. We've already suffered the loss of one of our own. Yeah, maybe in the next person we run after, I'll be a little bit more charitable. But right now, there's too much of a risk. In space, the man vanished into his darkness, silent. You can hear and see nothing of him, not even his footsteps. The guide was right. There are no other options. Well, that is what I have to believe. We need to get through this somehow. Being weighed down by guilt will distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. After a moment's hesitation, and one last glance into the truly lifeless fog, we run to catch up with him. We walked onwards in silence. Our body hasn't changed. The stranger was never added to it, so it's not as if it makes sense to miss him. But there's a sense of loss we all the same. No one even attempts mirth. I keep thinking I should have done more. I should have pushed the guide harder to change his mind so it's less dangerous to keep the man around. Something. Anything. Kika, you misunderstand how much I care about some random kid. He got this far on his own. I think he'll be fine. But I have to let this go. I'm not going to forget that man. I'll never forget him. But we still need to get through this. I clap my hands into fists, hoping it'll strengthen my resolve, and I push forward. We turn down a different path, and the guide stops. Oh boy. Ahead of us, then the group of prowlers. At the sound of us, they turn their heads in unison, as if they knew we were coming. I inhale. The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We cannot lose another lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through his coat with his free hand.
What are you planning?
Pamela's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch, then opens the latch on his lantern.
Wait, are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
It will. We're going to run.
This is insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire.
You got a point.
And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
He says it with such detached certainty as if he saw it happen himself. No one argues with him. The guy... sorry. Wow, that was weird. The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall into step behind him, staying close to his back. He bends his lantern back down until it is lowered to his outstretched arm. The pouch in his hand is set aflame. With a practiced flick of his wrist, he swings the staff back up, and the glass on the lantern snaps close.
Don't get left behind.
You got it! He takes 3 quick steps and then tosses the pouch. The prowlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands. As soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint and so does the rest of us. The blaze grows, despite the heavy dampness from the lake. These bridges aren't normal bridges. Of course that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully they won't collapse with the flames. We stay on the guide's heels, almost too close for comfort. He stops abruptly, we all crash into one another, maybe even fall off the bridge. Then the world tilts. Oh, I was mid-stride when I put my foot down. The bridge isn't where it was. It lurches to one side, either because it's weakened or pushed. Amelia and I manage to keep our ground as does the guide. He presses on, without even bothering to see if we were able to follow. Amelia growls in frustration as we push to keep up with the guide's pace. As a storm of feet thunder across the boards, a silver sliver begins to arrive into view just above the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint and suddenly make out the craggy forms of land and earth. I see it. We're almost there. Safety at long last. New energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once the bridge ends, and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth, solid earth, a haven from the water. I catch my breath while still moving further from the dark shoreline. I can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. When night falls once more, we'll have to do it all again. Are you serious? A heavy arm falls across my shoulders, and I straighten to see Bamele smiling wearily at me.
Good work out there.
Thank you. It's not the usual commendation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. Ends flatly. Usually Bamele's comfort and good nature gives me at least the edge to smile, but right now it feels like a hollow victory. Despite still having the comfort of one another, we were incapable of doing any true good. We were only able to save ourselves. A quiet moment passes between us. And then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that his steps on the soft sand are nearly silent, and his tuxedo clothes blend in with the thinning of the night.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Melly leaves an empty look towards the guide.
Is there something we should do?
Come. The guide takes us to an area a bit further inland, but not too far from the water. Trees partially obscure our location, and there's enough room to watch the coast in case prowlers start to emerge from the water. Essentially, it's a place where an ambush would be hard.
If any of you see anything at all, speak up. We don't want them to sneak up on us.
Almost automatically, each member of the group turns to a different direction. As the sky continues to fade, from pale purple to a muted blue, the water stays silent. For the first time, nothing happens. It's a miracle. Suddenly my chest is lighter and the air is fresher. The first pricks of light appear over the horizon, stinging my eyes after such a long journey through the darkness. A sound catches my attention, and I move my focus towards its direction. The guide is opening the latch on his lantern again. He gently, almost respectfully, blows out the light.
We no longer have to worry about the Nixi. It is over for today.
I'm almost unable to keep tears of relief from pouring after those words. We made it through the night. We survived. No one feels the need to speak. We look at each other, an understanding passing between us. And we find our own space, as comfortable as we can get, and lie down for the rest we weren't sure would ever come. My eyes steadily blink open and adjust to the brightness. What little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop my elbows and push myself up. The ground is hard and rocky, but that isn't the only reason I'm eager to get on my feet. I check my surroundings. The harsh, craggy earth of the island is interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bamele is fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realize I don't recall seeing him lay down with everyone. It's likely he left us hours ago. There's a creeping silence here. I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling of I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside me. It refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memories of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Bamele wakes suddenly, rising with alarm. My mouth opens, then shuts, and after a moment of fumbling, a word finally escapes.
Hello.
Bamele gives me a gentle smile and makes his way over to me.
Morning.
A pocket of quiet descends over us. Bamele sighs. The atmosphere is weighing on him already.
We should eat something soon.
Yes.
A distinct rustling of leaves around catches my attention. The guide appears, emerging from the thicket. Bemele glares at him as he makes his way over.
The Nixi will not tread on land in daylight. However, being near the shoreline is still dangerous. If you leave the center of the island, remain cautious. Before the sun sets, I will be in this area. It would be wise to meet me here before nightfall.
Why do you do this?
I sharply turn towards Bemele and he snarls and confronts the
If you had
guide.
just let him follow behind us, if you had been there before, none of this would have happened. They didn't have to die.
The guide looks away, seemingly unaffected. Yeah, I'm assuming he's seen it all by this point. So, like, there's nothing you can say that will change his mind because he's seen it all.
If all you're going to do is leave everyone to be lost, then why bother guiding us at all?
Despite Bemele's severe words, the guide apparently considers his piece here finished. He turns towards the forested area from which he came.
Wait!
Bemele calls out to the guide, reaching towards him. Before he can make contact, I quickly place a hand on his shoulder. He lowers his arm to his side, though I can still feel the wrath emanating from him. We stay this way until the guide disappears from view. Bemele begins to kick at the ground, spraying tiny pieces of gravel about.
Bemele, I know you're angry, but regardless of our feelings, we need the guide. If he leaves us, we'll all die.
And we've done so well with him?
Well, we've survived, maybe not anyone else. I give him a cold glance. We won't even know which bridge to take with us without the guide. Bemele knows that. This needs to stop. There are people counting on us to make it back.
We can't afford to lose our way.
The anger etched into his expression fades into sadness.
I can't stay here right now.
Quietly, I speak. I'm going to speak with the guide. I ball my hands into fists, stealing my will, and start advancing in the direction the guide went. Be careful, Bemele. Don't do anything rash. I push my way through the branches and reach the shore of the island. I look for the guide, but he is nowhere in sight. How? Where could he have gone? I search the area further without success. The island's not anyway large, and I have not found him is because he does not wish to be found. I sigh as all motivation leaves me. I think I simply need to be alone. It seems as though... Okay. Achievement unlocked. Alone. Okay, cool. It seems as though my wish to be alone will be granted. There's no sign that they will be returning. A cold chill somehow whips its way down my back despite the calm of the air. I keep my gaze on the dark ground, taking a breath so deeply it stings the back of my throat. As I steadily empty my lungs, I try to empty my mind of all thoughts. I do not know what I'm doing anymore. Nothing is straightforward. I find something familiar and powerful in my thoughts and latch on. The mission. I have to focus on the mission. I need to be strong. My eyes dart back up. Is someone watching? I wonder if I'm afraid of being seen struggling like this. If I hope I may not be on my own here. It doesn't matter. There's nothing but this silent island. Time seems so indefinite around me, passing slowly. On this island, it almost seems to move slow as a stagnant pond. I shake my head, bearing the thought. It's irrational, but I cannot bear to think of even old pond water. Gradually, my consciousness begins to include the world again. I do a few standard warm-up stretches, testing my body and mind. I don't know how long it's been, but I feel I've regained enough of my wits to continue on. I need to make sure everything is alright. I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that would be called a path, but I manage to pick my way through the bush quite well. Through a thinner stand of trees, I briefly catch sight of the guide standing on one of the bushes. He seems fine, and even though I'm sure he turned his head towards me, he makes no show of acknowledging me. I continue my check without heeding that. After moving on, I find Mammalian Jack and Claire leaning against a tree. He already noticed me and is looking my way, smiling. As I get closer, I can pick up on the sadness behind his jovial expression.
How are you faring? Any problems?
Everything is fine. I came to check on you.
How kind. I've calmed down since then.
I'm glad to hear that. Is there any way I can help or anything you'd like to say?
He raises an eyebrow at that, his grin becoming markedly painful.
I didn't expect to see you so worried about me, Kika.
I have to fault myself not to avert my eyes at that comment. Embarrassment flowing through into me. Melly notices my reaction. He does not draw attention to it, however. Instead, he throws his arms out wide with a sour expression.
Have you seen the guide?
Melly is clearly asking out of a sense of obligation and makes no secret that he's not pleased to be discussing the guide. I nod in response.
I saw him earlier. He is the same as always.
Good, good. In that case, I'm going to stretch my legs for a bit. I feel stiff from standing in one place for so long.
I bid him a brief goodbye. Melly waves as he departs. I find that I've been pacing back and forth for quite some time. I finished my check a while ago, so now I've nothing left to do but aimlessly wander. I'm overcome with restlessness. This island is safer than the bridges, but that is far enough to ease my mind. Far from enough to ease my mind. I can't read. I quietly sigh and decide to wait on my own. If I go back now, whoever I encounter will know that I don't want to be alone, and is more troubling than simply staying where I am. I sit down and silently listen to the ambience of the island as I wait for time to pass. I can only hope this will all end before I can no longer keep myself together. The sun begins to descend in the sky, and the light starts to fade into the fog. I feel relieved that it is almost time to leave this island. A chill slips down my spine at the thought of what comes next, however. Bemele soon arrives. He gives me a half smile as he waves.
Hello there.
I wave back and walk over. I'm glad he's here. I don't want to be alone any longer.
Hello.
The atmosphere grows tense as the quiet stretches on. Bemele seems torn between saying something and keeping the silence. Before too long, the guide arrives. His presence snuffs out all chance of conversing indefinitely. I keep my focus on steadying my breathing, bracing myself for what's ahead. All three of us wait in a comfortable silence until night falls. Night settles like a shroud over the land, every inch of the world now covered in unrelenting darkness. Suddenly there is a gurgling. The water parts as the bridges of Sinlos rise, powered by some unnatural force, creaking like they might fall apart. I feel an inexplicable pounding like a hammer in the back of my head, beating faster and heavier than my own heart. I clench my teeth to stop it from churning my stomach.
We must go now.
The guide doesn't wait for any replies, briskly starting in the direction of the shore. And with that, I think I'll leave this episode right here. Things are remarkably not heating up as much as I thought they would be. It's because I'm too hesitant to make any choices that might end up with me getting killed. And that's not very exciting. I apologize. I think the next time we run into somewhere or we might have to take someone else along, I will in fact bring them along, just because I think we need a little action here. But until next time, my fellow witches, wizards, how did my outro go? Until next time, my fellow witches, blessed be.